The Garden of Eden, which was the ideal society, was a vegetarian society. Adam and Eve were vegans. If we take literally the vision of Yeshayahu, of Isaiah, it's going to be a world in which there's not going to be any killing, and therefore it's going to be an ideal plant-based diet for humanity. It is a way of life that resonates with the most profound and the most sublime values of Jewish tradition.
In the beginning, God says to the first people on earth, you see the seeds that are growing out of the ground, you see the beautiful, delicious fruits that are growing on the trees, these you may eat, period.
God's dream really was Genesis, right, where clearly Adam is, right, the first human being. So look, you eat all the grass, but there's no mention that animals are eating animals or humans are eating animals and so on.
The language the Torah uses with regards to meat eating is concessionary language. If your heart's lust to eat meat, then this is the way to do it. Lust is not a terribly positive concept.
God hopes that we, on our own, will evolve to a point where we will realize that we no longer want to participate in this lustful behavior.
Today there is therefore no longer any justification in killing animals in order to provide for our own nutrition and sustenance, which we can get today far better from other sources, because today there are other problems that relate to the Torah's injunctions concerning health. We are obliged to protect our health. This itself is a mitzvah.
Almost all of the meat that we eat comes from animals who suffer either a little or a lot. And Tsar Ba'alei Chaim, not causing pain to another living creature, is a central principle of the Jewish tradition. And we violate it every time we eat something that we know was factory farmed, was debeaked, declawed, was treated cruelly.
And if we're ingesting that suffering, that pain, that horror, that what I've eaten, which becomes me, who I am, how can I possibly be at peace with myself?
It's not a new idea that animals have feelings, right? That is a Torah idea, that mother birds care for their young, that it's cruel to cook a kid in the milk that it should be drinking from its mother, that it's cruel to tear a limb from a living animal, that it's cruel to make an animal wait to eat when they see you eating because they might think, I'm not going to be fed.
The animal is not kosher just because it dies as a kosher animal. It should be kosher because it also lives a life that is a kosher life, that doesn't have any suffering in it. And modern day meat farms just don't live up to that standard.
If you understand it in that way, you need to understand veganism or a plant-based diet as the new kashrut. That is kashrut for the 21st century. Any other form of kashrut is problematic, highly problematic. So if you really want to be true to both the letter of the law and the spirit of the law of what kashrut is all about, then you should lead a life that is based on a plant-based diet.
It's important to advocate for a plant-based diet within the Jewish community because we are so far from fulfilling our duties and responsibilities about responsible living, especially toward the animals, that we have to bring out to the public a very somewhat radical idea, which is we shouldn't be eating animals in any form.
So people think of gefilte fish as Jewish food, but it's really sort of Polish food modified. And the same thing with the dishes that come, for example, from the Iranian Jewish community. It's Persian Middle Eastern food. Jewish food is the food you grew up with.
Noodle kugel feels, to me, very essential to my traditional Judaism, but now I make it with tofu.
If you raise your children with a plant-based diet. In a generation, they'll look at tofu or at seitan and think, this is Jewish food.